Okay, so this is our last model of the brain. This is kind of a funky looking one. This is basically what the brain would look like if you took off the two cerebral hemispheres and the cerebellum. So all you have here really is the diencephalon and the brainstem. And there's a little bit of spinal cord on here as well. Okay? So this little piece that you see up at the top, this is the only part of the corpus callosum that is visible here. Okay, remember those are commissural fibers, so connecting one cerebral hemisphere with the other. Okay, each of these egg-shaped structures is one half of the thalamus. Okay, so this would be the thalamus set of thalamic nuclei that would be sending information to the right cerebral hemisphere. This would be the one sending information to the left cerebral hemisphere. And you can see they're connected at the midline. Okay, the hypothalamus would be down in this section. And then the epithalamus with the pineal gland would be in this section. Okay, we'll go back to the front. Okay, this section here is where the midbrain is. Okay, and these are the cerebral peduncles. These are big concentrations of myelinated axons. And all of those axons would be projection fibers because they would be carrying, or a lot of them would be, they'd be carrying information to and from the cerebrum from other brain areas, non-cerebral brain areas. And when we go over on the opposite side, we can see these two bumps that are associated with the midbrain. Here's the superior colliculus. Here's the inferior colliculus. Okay, over on this side, this again is the pons. It's got that big anterior section. And then here is the medulla. Okay, now this is one of the few models that has a lot of the cranial nerves identified on it without having numbers. So this is one that has been used previously for assessment, so I want to go through it with you. Okay, now this has 11 of the 12 cranial nerves. Since the cerebrum has been removed, the olfactory nerve has been removed as well. Okay, so we won't be starting with the first O. We'll be starting with the second O. These are the optic nerves here. Okay, next ones, when you get here between the two cerebral peduncles, these are the oculomotor nerves. Coming around from the back are the trochlear nerves. And then this really huge one is the trigeminal nerve. Okay, the trigeminal is the largest of all of the cranial nerves because it has 3 subdivisions. Okay, then we're going to slide down to where the pons and the medulla meet. In your textbook, they may refer to this as the pontomedullary junction. So here we have the abducens nerve. This nerve, along with the trochlear and the oculomotor, these are the 3 that control the muscles that allow you to move your eye. Okay, then we have the facial, innervates the muscles of facial expression. And then we have the vestibulocochlear. This is the one that carries information from your inner ear associated with hearing and equilibrium. Okay, then we go to number 9, the glossopharyngeal. Okay, the glossopharyngeal innervates some of the taste buds of the tongue, the posterior third of the tongue. It also helps us with movements in the throat associated with gagging and swallowing. Okay, then we have the vagus nerve. This is the most important parasympathetic nerve of the body. It's the only cranial nerve that really has influence in areas outside of the head and neck. Then we have the accessory nerve. You can always tell the accessory because it's picking up pieces from the spinal cord. Okay, it used to be called spinal accessory. Okay, and I know there's a video out there with a rap about the cranial nerves where they're talking about shrugging your shoulders. Okay, and that's actually a good one because you're actually influencing muscles like your superior trapezius that would allow you to do that and controlling them with this nerve. Okay, and then the last one is, you can see kind of the rootlets of it here. These are part of the hypoglossal nerve, and that's what you need for sticking out your tongue, okay, and movements of your tongue. In fact, that's a way to tell if someone has had a stroke that affects that part of the brainstem. If they stick out their tongue and it deviates to one side, it will point to the side that's been affected. Okay. Now here's another representation of the cranial nerves. Let's just kind of get our landmarks. Here's the cerebral hemisphere, frontal lobe, parietal, occipital, temporal, lateral sulcus. You can see there's a big artery sitting in there. Okay. Here's the tentorium cerebelli, that extension of the meningeal dura that helps to support the posterior cerebrum and the cerebellum. Okay, and you can see the meninges on here, the dura in the light blue. Let's kind of flip it up this way so you can see it a little better. So the dura is in the light blue. The arachnoid, you can kind of see that it has a web-like structure in the darker blue, and then the pia would be on the surface of the brain. Okay, here's the cerebellum. You can see the pons and the medulla quite well, and here's where we're starting with our cervical vertebrae. Okay, so we have, as far as cranial nerves, olfactory, special sense of smell; optic, special sense of vision; oculomotor, motor to 4 of the 6 muscles that move the eye, the extrinsic eye muscles. Also has parasympathetic fibers. Trochlear controls one of the other muscles that move the eye. Trigeminal, you can see how big it is from this view. You can also see why it's called the trigeminal. 1, 2, 3 branches. Okay, so trigeminal is mostly sensory to the head, neck, and face, but it has a motor division as well that controls many of the muscles of mastication and swallowing. Okay, then we have abducens, the 6th nerve, and also controls the 6th muscle associated with eye movements. Facial, motor to the muscles of facial expression. Can't smile without your facial nerve. Vestibulocochlear, hearing and balance. Glossopharyngeal. Vagus. Accessory, shrug those shoulders. Hypoglossal, movements of the tongue. Okay, that wraps it up.